Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming by. Good afternoon. My name is James Ruskin. I'm here from Chocolaty Software. You may have got a T-shirt, sticker, something else from the booth downstairs. And we're here to discuss less clicking and more sipping, which is a slightly catchy title to show how Chocolaty for Business can save you time and energy when you're automating stuff away, specifically for a theoretical piece of software. So, getting into that then, we're going to tell the story of Robert, a theoretical senior automation engineer at Choco Latte. We'll get past the cutesy titles in a second, I swear. Robert's a senior automation engineer, and he's looking to essentially deploy a piece of software that's written internally out to his fleet of machines across the country, in this case called LatteLink. We're going to show how you can use Chocolaty for Business, or Rob can use Chocolaty for Business, to automate away some of the human effort there in order to keep LatteLink updated throughout the country. He's going to use a couple of different features, some of which I covered on Monday, if anyone caught the 15-minute session. But we're going to dive deeper into what they do and how they can be automated. So he's going to use Package Builder specifically, Package Internalizer, and Chocolatey Central Management to help that out. If you haven't seen it, Package Builder is basically a quick GUI-based application that you can use to quickly create Chocolaty packages from installers. You can create a package from an installer in as little as 5 to 10 seconds, although if you want to fill out some additional data, that will probably help. We're going to use Package Internalizer because though Rob's team of engineers do create the software internally at their company, there are a series of dependencies they use. And Rob's not terribly interested in maintaining additional packages when somebody on the CCR, which has 10,000 plus packages, maybe even over 11,000 at this point, and he doesn't want to write those packages again if somebody else has already done the work there. So he can use Package Internalizer to bring that stuff down and deploy it within his company. Finally, we're going to use Chocolatey Central Management to deploy these packages across the country in a very quick and easy thing. And we're going to do this through GitHub Actions. So essentially using GitHub Actions to do all the packaging of the software and then push it out, all in one little release. So let's actually show some stuff. Our theoretical LatteLink thing here is just a piece of software that, in this case, does absolutely nothing. But we're going to quickly show what we're talking about there. So we've got our LatteLink software. We've got our GitHub Actions that we'll dive into in a second. I'm terribly sorry. Thank you. Me and display cloning. Name something that's gone better.
This your resolution?
4K, I suspect.
Yeah, first.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I've got a wonderful joke about a bee, if anyone has a few minutes. Do you mind if I continue talking while you're...
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. So we're going to cover these few things. Some of the advantages there are essentially that, our theoretical Robert does not have to manage any of the process. The software engineers in the company can continue to continue to change and release their software. In this case, we have our theoretical team. Thank you very much. Pushing a JSON file full of dependencies into the repository. In a second, we'll show that that gets released as part of the release process, and then the GitHub Actions pick that up, internalize everything appropriately, and go from there. We can now see this stuff, which is great. Thank you very much, by the way. So, where was I? We were looking at our GitHub Actions. We're going to just quickly do a very silly way of releasing this. We're just going to push a commit that contains the updated binaries and then a tag. So I'm just going to tag that here with a 1.2.0 release. No worries. And I'm going to push that up. I'm going to connect to the internet. The top note on my page here says internet, because I've forgotten it in both of my other demos this week. I'm glad that went well this time. So yeah, there we go. So we've pushed that up. We're going to push the tag, or make sure it's pushed. And what we should see is our actions kick off. So there we go. So the beginning of the process here. So while that's running, I'm just going to quickly run through what it's doing. We can show the code in a second as well. But at a basic level, the release process there is going and gathering all the information. It's grabbing the MSI, packing it into a release in this case, and then the other actions are going to take over. We're going to use Package Builder, which basically is this tool here. And it's going to use that to package up the software. So in this case, you can point it at anything. We're just going to point it at Firefox, because that's what we've got here. And you're able to very quickly just say, hey, I want to create a package with that in. Drop in some details. And quickly create a package, which should show up momentarily. And you've got a package in a couple of seconds. Obviously, you can spend more time filling out more of the stuff there. It's very helpful, as we'll show in a second, if you get to the GUI, if you're offering users the ability to select software to install, some of this stuff will show up. So, having a good icon, having a good description, allowing people to see exactly what they're getting when they're installing it is very helpful. But in this case, we're going to roll on. So this release should now have triggered the further releases, which are going to essentially, as I said, package that up. We are going to then create our release on CCM. So if we have a look at our run here, okay, that's going to be running for a second, so we'll go from there. But it's going to publish the package, and then it's going to continue and actually create the release on CCM. The other lovely thing about this is once you've got this, you can actually either push it to a new a package repository such as Nexus or any of the other varieties of things there, or you can essentially convert it to an Intune friendly package and push it up there if you're using Intune, or even just put it in a file in a directory and use Chocolaty from there. There are many options. So it's also then going to use Internalizer. So as I mentioned a second ago, we are using a selection of dependencies here. In this case, we're saying that there is a .NET dependency of some kind, a .NET runtime that we need. Package Internalizer actually goes and grabs whatever package you have got, and it will run through all the dependencies you want and just download them. It also pulls any binaries in from if they're externally hosted, so that you've got a package that will work offline in an air-gapped environment wherever you want, which is neat. So we can show a quick example of that. With, for example, like a 7-zip, which should show that we can just download that, and it will go and grab any additional files, including the 7-zip install, and anything else. This is a meta package, so possibly a bad example, but we'll show it with Package Builder, so with LatteLink in a second. Hopefully, if we go back now, we'll see a failure. Okay, let's just dive into what that was doing. So yeah, essentially that was creating the package, as we just said there. It was internalizing everything and pushing it up to Nexus. So what we should see is Nexus having a selection of packages there. Obviously, it won't be done for this, but we can essentially replicate the experience in a second. If we, yeah, we'll do that in a second. So the package will have been pushed up to Nexus, and then we'll create a deployment on Chocolate. On Chocolatey Central Management. One of the nice things about Chocolatey Central Management is at the moment you can actually import deployments as JSON files. So you can have that in a way, and you can do that through the API. So that's what we're using here. And I guess I will run this now so we can show that off. Good. But yeah, so in our theoretical company, we've got our selection of deployment plans, which should now contain our ensure LatteLink table. Some nice things that you can do with these deployments. Obviously, we've just got a really basic example here where we are just diving in and basically stepping through, and we're just going to upgrade the LatteLink package. This is just a basic step. You can do much more. If you have a look at what you can do in CCM, obviously anything, just basic Chocolatey packages, but of course they can be anything, so you can do anything with them, anything that you can do in PowerShell, pretty much. And you can deploy it to any selection of groups that you have on your CCM instance. And yeah, with the advanced step, you can just write PowerShell without even wrapping in a Chocolatey package. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly check what the error was instead of just talking about it, because maybe I could just quickly repush it and have that work. You can at least see here that we have downloaded the various dependencies for those files, and we were going to push them up in a second. Once that had created the deployment here in the further GitHub action workflow, we would have got to the point where it would have been triggered and pushed out to our deployment. So I can now trigger that deployment, but it will, I believe, currently fail because it hasn't got the prerequisite steps. You can obviously manage your CCM computers in just about any fashion you want. Again, all accessible through the API. We've got a couple of an automatic group there. I would run you through how it's installed now. I guess we can see just quickly if I did leave it here instead of clearing down the environment properly. But I did not. So okay, let's just go from the basics, and we will just quickly change our deployment to something else that is available. We've actually got a selection of Jenkins jobs here that we have instructions on using that we can use to quickly show off what we do. We've got these all documented on our documentation site, and they basically contain instructions for automatically internalizing other packages that are already on this community repository, for testing those theoretically, and for pushing them to the approved repository. So if we just do this, we'll quickly get a new package, and we'll be able to push that out. So instead of the deployment plan we had, we're just going to quickly create a new one. And we're going to install Cloudflare, any version, not including a pre-release. To our server. Importantly, to our server. Okay, so we've got our test deployment. We're going to move that up to ready. And then we're going to immediately just deploy it. And that should run through. Some of the nice things about this, you can essentially, if you're managing a bunch of different systems with Chocolatey Central Management and Choclety, of course, CLI, you can dive in here and grab the logs out of any failed or otherwise any deployment step. So you can actually do things like gathering data through advanced deployments and then passing the information back into your systems in order to do further work. That can be very handy. But we can see that this will run through and install our package now that this has hopefully worked. Yeah, cool. Are there any questions while we're waiting for things to happen? Paul, in the front.
In an advanced deployment step, you said you could do PowerShell. But what kind of PowerShell does it? What is the name restricted? Is it
That's fair. The question was, in the advanced deployment step, I said you can write any PowerShell. Are there any restrictions? Is there anything you can do? You can do pretty much anything you can do with PowerShell. There are a couple of interesting things at the moment around, for example, some compiled modules, but we're working on that. But you can, basically load up anything and just run PowerShell. That's pretty much it. There is some handling information in the bottom of the step creation guide that you can look at for further details. Any other questions while we're just waiting here? Fantastic.
A question. How do you go about the life cycle of all this packages that you push to your repository? So a couple of years you'll get a lot of version in your repository, and then they will grow and grow and grow. How do you go about maintaining this old version?
So the question was, how do you go about managing the lifecycle of packages that you have uploaded to your internal repositories? For example, when you've had several years worth of versions, sorry, I'm just restating it for the thing. For example, when you have many versions after several years of updates, how do you cull the unnecessary ones? I think the answer is going to be, it depends. I'm sorry. It absolutely depends on what you're using. If you're just trying to push the latest version to users, you can absolutely write a script. For example, for Nexus, there are various cleanup methods you can use to cull older versions than the latest. But of course, if you're, for example, trying to have an immutable build pipeline that you'll be able to go back and rerun a build from commit years ago, you probably will want to keep the versions that are still in use. There are sometimes statistics you can grab to see if it's been downloaded recently, but of course with the sort of thing where you're going back and trying to rebuild something years old, you may not have a recent download to check. So it depends, but there are several PowerShell scripts, and I think we've even got a blog post coming out soon for managing Nexus, for keeping the latest versions, if that's any help.
Are there any reports you can show what this problem shows, like the old ones there you haven't been used? Or
Possibly not on this repository here. You certainly can see kind of the age of packages at the very least, and dive into. Well, this is a very specific example for Nexus, of course, but if you're using something else, they'll generally have something along these lines. But you can use the API for Nexus to go in and grab, or even I believe you can use the NuGet feed to grab the creation date and manage it that way, or filter it that way.
but not the use date, for example.
Well, for example, here we have a last downloaded, so you could, you could get that out, if that's any help. Cool.
We use Nexus.
Yeah, there we go then. As I say, I think we've got a blog post coming out soon that has a very large example script for managing Nexus specifically. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be on blog.chocolaty.org. I did not sacrifice enough today. So as you can see, if you have a failed deployment, you will be able to get the logs out and see what went wrong. In this case, we can see that it could not install from my local thing. So overall, going well. Are there any other questions, or shall I let us have some time back? Paul.
Can you explain what the workflow was so you
Yeah, we absolutely can. So the flow of that should have been that LatteLink was built and released by our engineers. The theoretical workflow would go and create a release, or expecting a release, add the resources that we require there to that release. So in that case, that was the MSI that was built and our dependencies JSON. That would then get passed on. It would trigger the next workflow, and that would get passed on to our secondary workflow over here, the one that failed in this case. And we can see that that should have gone in essentially on whatever selection of things that we wanted to use, checked out the code, install Chocolaty licensed, Chocolaty extension with a license, build a Chocolaty package using package builder. So that would have run this, and then publish it to our Nexus repository there. That should have then triggered the next action in a lovely chain. That then would have gone off. We've got a module that I didn't choose to use here, but that should have then gone off and essentially invoked the creation of the deployment that we were just showing. And as we've mentioned, you can just import a deployment. So that's a fairly simple layout, and you can basically see the steps that we just showed in the in the basic step. But you can also write advanced steps here, of course. That will then be triggered by the rest of the deployment, and everything going well, we should have seen LatteLink show up.
What about the internalization process? We run all very often in that issue. We have like a completely air-gapped environment, and some packages do great internalization process. So the external sources are internalized, and we do have everything on our repository. And sometimes the whole internalization process is not able to get those external source, and then the installation step is being filled because, naturally the system, the workload is not connected to the internet directly.
Yeah, of course.
Is there a way to flag the package if they are like air-gapped compatible or not?
This is sorry. So a summary of that question was: is there a way to determine whether a package is internalizable or not? Because some packages unexpectedly fail internalization. I'd be intrigued to hear which ones at some point, but not necessarily now. This is something we have discussed, but is currently not in effect. We don't currently test every package on the. We do various bits of testing on the community repository. For the validation of it be installable, that it hasn't got any viruses, and that it meets our rules and criteria. But we don't currently test business features on those packages because it's a community repository. I'm unsure if the exit code would change, but it might be worth checking that. But it will depend on what the package says. So again, if you want to come and show me it a little later, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Okay. So, if anyone's interested in a trial or seeing this work properly in a real environment that might match their own, please come chat to us at the booth. or contact us at ch0.co/demo. We can give you a demo that might work a little better. My apologies for the failures. Have a great day. Please do come see me if you have other questions or to discuss fun packages. Thank you all.